So that membrane acts like the skin. So the membrane is essentially the skin of the cell. The cell is like a little human being, right? Inside the cell, you have these things called mitochondria. They're like oval shaped. They call them mitochondria. I'll put mito for short. Did you guys ever hear me talk about ATP, adenosine triphosphate? Did I bring that up? About like glucose needs oxygen. They make ATP. ATP's life is a spark. I'm not sure if I mentioned it in this class. Probably not. No. Okay, well, this is if you're a note taker, this is something you want to take. So ATP is pretty much life. ATP is energy. This represents like a little spark right here. So this is energy. And the reason you bring in oxygen is to make the energy. Okay, so it's to make the energy. Well, that stuff, the ATP that I've been talking about, and if you go back in the videos and look at it, you'll hear me say ATP every now and then. That's pretty much what like life comes down to. That's life. That's energy. Okay? That happens inside the cells. So I would write that down, even though you don't know what ATP really means or what it is right now. As we progress, you guys will know more. Just know for now that ATP is made inside the cells, right? Specifically inside the mitochondria of the cell. So I'm gonna write that down. So ATP is made inside the mitochondria. Mitochondria. And my spelling might be off. I haven't seen this word in a very long time. So it might be off with the mitochondria. And then let's put down what the mitochondria is. So the mitochondria, now put it up here, mitochondria are small organs inside the mini human called the cell. Okay, so you're made up of a whole bunch of little human beings. Like these are like little human beings that make you up. These cells are individuals. Like I said, they have something called mitochondria. That's just one of the organs. There's a whole bunch of organs in there. There's a whole bunch of stuff in here that make the cell work and function like how your body works and functions. Like it even has a brain. The cells have its own brain. So right in the middle somewhere, there's a core, the nucleus. It's called the nucleus. The nucleus is the brain of every cell. You're made up of individual little humans that are you, and then they make you up.
Do they think for themselves too?
They have their own thought process. You have look this up. You actually have memories. Memory is encoded in your DNA, in your cells from your ancestors and like your grandfather and your. It's cool. It's crazy. It gets deep. It gets real deep. Like if you like progress in this, you'll start like figuring stuff out. It's gonna blow your mind a little bit maybe.
Oh, that's how they do that 23andMe thing?
Yeah, they find out the DNA, but yeah, so again, the cell is just a little mini human being. That's all it is. That's why it has organs. They're called organelles. The nucleus is the brain. The nucleus is the brain. So I write that down.
Google this.
Nucleus is the brain of the cell. Okay? So the nucleus is the brain of the cell. ATP, so I'll leave that alone for now. I'm gonna go ahead and keep going forward. Okay? Alright, so the cell, the membrane protects and selectively allows water and other substances in and out of the cell, alright? So it's like a skin. Your skin can absorb stuff. That's why they have patches that are made out of medicine. So that's why they have like stuff that's for like pain. You rub it on your skin, it goes away because your skin absorbs it. So the cell, the skin is very similar.
Makes sense.
Okay, here, this is what I was talking about. The mitochondria, okay? This is really important. You guys need to know this. All right? The mitochondria is what? Who remembers where do I find the mitochondria? In your cell. And it's what for the cell? It's with an O. It's an organ. And because it's in the cell, it's small. Remember, things that are smaller have longer names. It's an organelle. So the organs in the cells are called organelles. Okay. So this mitochondria, what is made in there again? What's made in the mitochondria?
ATP.
ATP. It is right here, and this is how you spell it. So this is a super important slide because this is pretty much life. This is energy. This is what keeps us going. Is us making this adenosine. So it's called adenosine triphosphate, and that's just what it's made up of. ATP for short. Who can recall what makes ATP in the body? Like the most of what's the best way of making ATP in the body?
You said the right way, energy, right?
Oxygen is one of them,
Glucose.
and glucose. Exactly. You get these two, you get ATP. It's that easy. You get oxygen from your lungs. You get glucose from eating, and then it goes into your bloodstream from your stomach and your intestines, and then they meet at the cells throughout your entire body to make ATP, which keeps you alive. Okay, and we're gonna keep going through this. All right, so fuel for cell function. So we talked about that, right? It's the life. Without ATP, many of the cells' specialized functions, would not work. They would not work. So do you guys need some more time for this, or should I keep going? I'll give you guys a little bit of time. Let's take a picture, and then we'll keep going. And actually, it'll give me time to see. Cool. All right, so the next one is gonna be a picture of what I drew that you guys saw, but it's just not as good. All right, so this is the cell.
This is not as good.
This is not as good as the one I did, but we're gonna try to make it work anyways. So this is the skin. It has hair just like you have hair. Look at that. This is a little mini human being.
Wait, that's actually good.
That's disgusting.
Yeah, cilia. So cilia, and for those watching at home, but cilia are little follicles. This stuff you find everywhere in your body, even inside, everywhere, throughout. It's made exactly of the exact same stuff that your hair is made of. It's literally made up of the exact same stuff. Your hair, it looks different because it's in your body and it's moist. But cilia is hair in your body, even your. So this is your little mini human being's haircut. So all the little cells in your body has your hairdo right now, probably. But it's a cilia though. I'm just exaggerating. But yeah, but cilia is like the hair.
I know
And
mine
you-
got like a fresh fade or something.
And you guys see all these out? So these are the mitochondria. What happens at the mitochondria? What gets made in there?
ATP.
ATP. So ATP gets made there. So all of these things are organs. You guys see all these different things, that green stuff? These right here, the centrally or whatever, these are all different organs. It's how you have a liver, how you have a heart. These are like the livers and the hearts and the lungs of the actual cell. And this is the brain. This is the brain of all the little mini humans inside your body. The nucleus is the brain. It's what makes everything function, just like your brain makes everything function in your body. Does that make sense? So you're made up of little individual yous.
Wait, what's their job again? Like, what's
Their job, it depends on where it's at. So remember how I said so tissue is tissue. So cells make tissue. So a whole bunch of cells together is gonna make one little chunk of tissue. So like this is a whole bunch of little nail cells have to make the nail tissue. It makes sense, right?
Yeah.
Kind of like how they put all the yarn together to make a piece of cloth. There you go. And then more cloth makes the whole pair of pants. Just like more tissue makes the whole heart. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Cool. Okay. Did I ask you a question or no? Yeah. What did you ask me? I think I used it.
You pretty much kind of
Alright.
answered it. I said, what's the job? What's their job?
It's all different, but what it comes down to is to keep you alive, to keep making ATP for the function. All right. But yeah, so like a little cell, and then all these little tissues put together that are made from the cell will make the individual organ. In this example, let's use the pancreas. All right. And there's different kinds of tissues that make different kinds of organs that make the human being.
That thing look freaky to me.
I'm pretty sure we look freaky to it. If it were to see a whole human, like, this is what I made? This is crazy, right? All right, so yeah, inside the mitochondria, I really want you guys, I'm gonna keep hitting this hard because I want you guys to really take this home. You guys need to know this.
Oh, I still ain't really
Because
thinking
this is what like medicine pretty much comes down to in any level. I don't care if you're an EMT, a CNA, or a doctor. Like, this is what it comes down to. All right. So oxygen needs to meet what? in the body? Glucose.
Yeah.
To make what? What are we making? ATP stands for adenosine triphosphate. It's made inside the mitochondria of the cell, which is the organ of the cell of your mini human and everywhere in your body. Okay? Where does the oxygen come from that goes into the cell? So it goes, this oxygen and glucose travels to your body in the blood, goes to the tissue, down to the cells, and it just drops off where it needs to drop off. It gets down, kind of like how the big old highways go into off ramps and streets, then little alleys, same exact thing. Except that the oxygen molecules of the humans in this case, dropping off, getting off, doing stuff, picking up. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Everything works the exact same way in this world. Everything works the exact same way. All right, so where does the oxygen come from again? Where does the O2 come from? Your lungs. Cool.
Yeah.
Lungs. Where does the glucose come from?
Food. That's what
Food. It's too easy. And that's it. That's it. And then from this, what's the byproduct? What's the waste that we poop out? That we have to breathe out?
Carbon dioxide.
Carbon dioxide, CO2. And that CO2 is made here when the oxygen meets the glucose. And put over here. When the oxygen meets the glucose to make ATP, it's like a division equation. The remainder is CO2. It has to get pushed out, and then it gets pushed out into your blood. That kind of makes sense a little bit?
Yeah.
Everything's an equation.
I wonder if this what people talk about when they say they hear voices in their head.
The cells talking to them?
Yeah.
I think you're just crazy right now. All right, so that makes sense, right? Kind of a little bit? Cool.
Yeah.
All right, we still got plenty of time. Perfect. Okay, so glucose and the cells. So glucose is the building block. We cannot make ATP without any glucose. Okay? We cannot make any ATP without glucose. So because we can't do that, glucose is known as the building block for energy. Because we can still make ATP. So we can still make ATP. See, supply of insulin. We can still make ATP without oxygen. All right, but we can't make it without glucose. That's why it's the building block. Can't make it without it. Okay. So supply of insulin must match the body's glucose requirement, and I'll tell you why in a second. All right. So glucose needs help. Okay, where does it have to go inside the cell? Where does it go in the cell? The glucose to make ATP. Where does the mitochondria? Okay, well, glucose can't just get in to the cell by itself. It can't, it's too big, so it needs help, okay? So that's where insulin comes in. So I'm gonna write that down, I'm gonna backtrack, and we're gonna go through this. Okay, so insulin helps glucose go in the cell. Okay? And so I'm going to backtrack and show you guys what I mean by that. Okay, perfect. So actually, go back to this, change the color. All right, so I said that insulin is needed, right? All right, so glucose, let's pretend that this is a blood vessel going through the tissue of the pancreas. So this is a cell. This cell made this tissue. And what does tissue make? Makes anything, but we're now talking about organs. So organs is any kind of organ, right? So essentially this pancreas is made up of all the little cells that make the tissue that make the pancreas. Still following me? Kinda? Okay. Cool. Alright, so your side note for right now why I'm kind of going with this is that, remember that word insulin? What does insulin do again?
It helps it digest the.
It helps the cell digest the glucose. It helps bring the glucose into the cell, right? Okay, well the insulin is only made in the pancreas. I would write that down. All right, so just and it's all gonna make sense eventually. Okay, I'm just gonna keep spitting it out, then keep going over it. But I want you to guys know the little stuff. So insulin is made in the pancreas. I think after this, what I'm probably gonna finish, because I can see you guys already kind of like